When Anastasia met the gaze of that man in the crowd, time seemed to stop. Was it really him? After all that pain, after all those sleepless nights, was it possible that the past had come knocking on her door again? Before we find out what happened that day, I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other exciting stories like this one. Now let's take a few steps back to understand how it all began. Anastasia had built her life around her family. She had found in Gregorio a companion who seemed to be the perfect ally to face life. He was a caring, affectionate man, and together they seemed to live a dream. They had 6 children, and although their home was simple, it was filled with laughter, joy, and love. But happiness is fragile. One day, Anastasia's sister became seriously ill. On her deathbed, her voice broken by pain, she asked her to take care of her 3 children. "Promise me that you will not abandon them," she said with tears in her eyes. Anastasia, her heart exploding, replied, "I promise, with all my heart." But that commitment would change the fate of her family forever. The arrival of 3 more children transformed the family balance into a challenge. The house, once a peaceful refuge, filled with new responsibilities. Gregorio began to feel crushed by this reality. Every day became a battle against bills to pay, time that was never enough, and an unbearable weight that weighed on his soul. The smiles began to fade from his face, replaced by somber expressions and interminable silences. Anastasia tried to bring peace to Gregor's heart, but he seemed to be drifting further and further away. "I can't send them away," she repeated resolutely every time Gregor suggested that they leave the children with others. "They are my family now, yours too." But Gregor could no longer see beyond the weight of his fears. One night, without saying anything, he chose to leave. Gregorio's abandonment was like a bolt from the blue. Devastated, Anastasia found herself alone with 9 children and a pain that paralyzed her soul. But it was not in her nature to give up. She began to transform her kitchen into a small laboratory, kneading the pain into bread and cakes. Every morning, the smell of freshly baked bread filled the house, bringing a little comfort to those broken hearts. Her older children helped her sell her products door to door, and soon the entire community learned about their story of resilience. As the years passed, Anastasia's children grew up, shaped by their mother's strength and determination. They studied hard, received scholarships, and built a bright future. Anastasia, with the same tenacity, managed to transform the old house into a cozy cafe, a place where people gathered to enjoy not only food, but also the warmth of a united family. 20 years passed, 20 years of hard work and conquests. Anastasia had rebuilt her life, but fate had one last surprise in store for her. If you like this story, I invite you to give it a precious like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other stories like this one. That day, while Anastasia's children were organizing a special lunch to celebrate their mother, a man appeared outside the cafe. His face was marked by tiredness, his eyes full of regret, and he carried with him the weight of loneliness. It was Gregorio. After leaving his family, Gregorio had lived in the shadow of his bad choices. He had sought refuge in another woman, but she had abandoned him as well. Alcohol had become his only companion, but instead of giving him relief, it had only dragged him deeper. He had hit rock bottom several times, but a near-death experience had opened his eyes. He needed to change. And so that day, Gregory had decided to do the only thing left for him to do: ask for forgiveness. Anastasia noticed the familiar figure through the window. A shiver ran through her body. "It's him," she whispered to her eldest son. They walked out together and came face to face with the man who had destroyed their family. Gregor couldn't meet Anastasia's gaze. "I know my words can't change what I've done," he began, his voice cracking with emotion. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please let me explain." The eldest son, torn between anger and sadness, went back into the cafe, while Anastasia remained there, motionless. She looked at the man she had loved and hated with equal intensity. "For years I have hoped to see you return, repentant," she said calmly, but with a sharp determination. "In my heart, I had already forgiven you. But forgiveness does not erase the past. If you want to get closer to your children again, you will have to earn it. It will be a long and difficult journey." Gregor, unable to hold back his tears, collapsed before her. But Anastasia remained impassive. She asked for a moment to talk to her children. Some were willing to give their father a chance. Others were firm in their refusal. The wound was still too deep. Gregorio, for the first time in his life, decided to really fight. He began a journey to free himself from alcohol, sought help, and did his best to prove that he had changed. Every day was a battle, but he never gave up. Over time, Gregory learned that forgiveness was not a gift to be received easily, but a difficult path to walk. And do you believe that everyone deserves a second chance to make up for their mistakes? And you, if you had been in your children's place, would you have been able to forgive?